Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regularly scheduled Taft City Council Successor Agency Joint Regular Meeting for November 21st, 2017. As a courtesy to all, please turn your cell phones to vibrate or off so we don't disturb one another during the course of this evening's discussions. Any writings or documents provided to a majority of the City Council regarding any item on this agenda are made available for public inspection in the lobby of Taft City Hall at 209 East Kern Street, Taft, California, during normal business hours. Thanks to Senate Bill 343, we're going to begin this evening's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation from Bob Jordan of the Lighthouse Foursquare Church. If you will join me, please. Remove your hats, hand over your heart, salute.
See the flag,
And pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together. We ask you to bless every member of the City Council, from the bottom of their feet to the top of their heads. Give them wisdom for what they have to decide and guarantee their votes. And may every council and every single government agency be blessed in this great country. We pray that you bless the United States and remember the mortal words that we are one nation, under God, indivisible. And may we remain that way forever. In the name and through the power of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Madam Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor Knorr.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill. Here. Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
Councilmember Cryer.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Okay, first item on this evening's agenda is going to be the second reading for the zoning ordinance amendment number 2017-14, Proposition 64 and Senate Bill 94, Medical and Adult Use Cannabis Regulation and Safety Act. I have, and this is kind of out of order, but I have three people on the public comment sign-in sheet. If any of the three of you are going to speak on behalf of this item, would you like to speak prior to our considering this item or wait for the public comments portion of the meeting? That would be Bob Jordan, Ryan Coulter, or Paul Linder. Okay, then we'll move forward. Okay, second reading zoning ordinance amendment number 2017-14, Proposition 64 and Senate Bill 94, Medical and Adult Use Cannabis Regulation and Safety Act. The recommendation, or City Manager Jones, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. The Taft City Council held a public hearing on November 7, 2017 to consider an ordinance recommendation from the Taft Planning Commission regarding the Proposition 64 and Senate Bill 94, Medical and Adult Use Cannabis Regulation and Safety Act. The approved ordinance comes before the City Council for a second reading consistent with the state law. The staff recommends the council make a motion to confirm the action made on November 7th, 2017 to approve the ordinance as written.
Thank you, City Manager Jones. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve and amend the City of Taft Municipal Code entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Taft approving zoning ordinance amendment number 2017-14, amending chapters 4, 5, 6, and 7, and adding sections 6-4-5 and 6-12-31 to Title 6 of the Taft Municipal Code to prohibit all commercial cannabis activity in all zone districts and to establish regulations for personal use of cannabis consistent with state law.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, before we go on, I just wanted to say something. I apologize for not interrupting you earlier. It was pointed out to me that while the minutes are correct, the staff report might leave something out, which was that Councilman Miller was not opposed to commercial grows, but rather moved and voted to have the decision on commercial grows brought back to the City Council in January of 2018 for consideration after the state regulations have been finalized.
Which was the amended motion.
Yes, and we just wanted to clarify that with the staff report.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Did either council member who made the motion or the second have a problem with it now that it's been clarified?
No.
No. All right. I have a motion and a second. Councilman Bryant, you made the motion. Any discussion?
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor, except for the status quo hasn't changed since we voted on this on the 11th or on the 7th of November. And so until the status quo does change, my recommendation is we follow staff's recommendation and we move forward as is until the state solidifies its position.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
The same. Again, even though we have been given some of the state's language, we all know it's an emergency. It's not. There's more things that need to come out. We have a lot more research to do. And after the first of the year, we'll start working on that and see if it's viable.
Councilman Miller.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm going to vote to approve the prohibition of commercial cannabis activity in the city of Taft. But when it comes to future agenda requests, I'm going to request that come the first regular meeting that we have in January, that staff come back to us in regards only to the question of commercial grows, not retail, not dispensaries, and we'll leave the personal use as is. But once we have more information in regards from the state, I understand we got some information, but we just received it. And once we can figure out where the RMA, or Risk Management Authority, where they're going to stand on this whole issue, because they represent 53 cities, so we're not the only ones. So I know other cities are going through the same process that we are going right now. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor. I too agree with Councilman Miller on waiting for the reports and stuff. And I like to see what California City, what they've been, I met with the mayor of California City, and it was kind of interesting conversation we had. But like anything else, anything can be embellished, from what they're doing over there. But there's a lot of information that we need to look at, but as of right now, I will vote, I would say no on the ordinance and open it again first of the year.
Okay. My position has not changed. I've done additional research, and all that research points to the fact that not only have the people of the city of Taft said no, and no is no, but I have found absolutely no benefits to the people in the long term, or the community, or the youth. Therefore, my position has not changed. So, at this time, I have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
and Mayor Noor.
No, and that passes on a 4-1 vote. Thank you very much. Next up, item number 2, presentation Kern Cog Regional Transportation Plan.
Is that what? I'm sorry, I got lost, I guess.
I think the confusion is you voted no, but what's on the table is to ban everything.
I'm sorry?
Confused about.
You voted to not prohibit?
No, I
That's
voted.
what the resolution
no.
says.
Okay, well, let me clarify that for you.
Okay.
The resolution says prohibit all things cannabis, which we voted on, and it failed at the last meeting. Then you amended it to say I immediately want it brought back in January. My no vote means I want a no on all things cannabis, but it does not mean that I believe that we are in a race to reconsider the commercial cultivation of cannabis at the first of the year. Therefore, this passes as it was, but I will continue to state that that is my position.
Well, I'm not reading that in this resolution that we have here. The resolution did not change from the original resolution that we had.
Correct.
on the table is the banner.
what
The
is
wording,
on the table
everything is
the
the-
banning. There is nothing in the motion to bring it back.
Well, actually, that was clarified by the city attorney.
Then Randy's got to do the insurance.
Sorry, folks.
Okay,
Yeah, but it will come back as a future agenda request.
Well, yeah.
It's not in the verbiage of the motion.
Okay, well, let's
That's
get
correct.
clarification on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, as it stands, it is correct that at the last meeting, the motion was to pass the ordinance, the version of the ordinance that bans everything, including commercial grows, but with the condition that it come back at the first meeting in January for reconsideration as to commercial grows only.
That was the amended motion.
Right. This matter is simply to pass or accept or deny the first ordinance, which would prohibit everything. And then I believe, I don't want to speak for Councilmember Miller, but I believe his intention was to request that in fact he come back at the first meeting in January for consideration of a
As
commercial
a future
grow.
agenda item.
Yes, but that wasn't necessarily a part of this motion, is that correct?
Right.
You weren't amending it
No,
on this occasion?
Because I did not amend this second reading, and we did not get a second, so.
Yes.
Have the audio on the future agenda request, not on top of the order.
So he will make, just so I'm clear on this, he's going to make a future agenda request.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is not the same motion that was passed at the last meeting.
No.
It's the last,
Correct.
no, that motion was the amended motion.
Right, and what is on your agenda where it ends right at,
And clarify when he
State
says
law.
ban everything, we can't ban everything.
Right.
Because
Yes,
Prop
thank
64. So I don't want people home to think we're banning the personal use and the home
Right.
growing and all that. It's banning the commercial cultivation, the.
It is the original agenda item
Yes, what was recommended
Yes.
from the planning commission.
yes.
that did not get passed at the last meeting. And so you made mention of the fact that Councilman Miller still maintains his position, but he's going to ask that it's brought back.
Correct.
It
and I
is not
apologize.
amending the motion.
I apologize, Mr. Mayor, if that created confusion.
I was a little confused. Shame on me.
That was on me, not on you. So he was not amending the motion on this occasion. He simply
Okay,
was
then the
voting-
motion stands as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Yes.
Very good then. Thank you very much for bringing that up. In that case, yes, and that passes on a 5-0 vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
I was trying to save you, Mr. Mayor. I was trying to.
You did a good job.
Okay.
Again, that error was mine. I apologize for the
Okay.
misunderstanding.
I thought we were there until you clarified that, and then I got unclarified. So thank you very much. That passes on a 5-0 vote.
Bird dog is a no-show.
Okay, I didn't see anybody setting up any audio, video there, so, okay, well, it looks like item number 2 is not going to take place. So, we'll move right into item number 3. Citizens request public comments. This is the time and place for the general public to address the city council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. First up, I have Bob Jordan. If you would just state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
If somebody can remind me what it is. My name is Bob Jordan. I live at 303 East San Emilio in Taft, California. And I'm here representing the WCMA. For those of you that don't know, that's the West Side Christian Ministers Association. For the last 2 years, we brought you the Oil Dorado, the concert at the beginning, and the prayer at the end. And we're starting our second year this time of presenting an annual Christmas program. It'll be at the Taft High School Auditorium on December the 10th at 4 o'clock. We're going to have a children's choir of all the children in the community. We'll have a Christmas drama called The Oak Leaf. It happened at the Oak Leaf Manor, and afterward we're going to have refreshments. And we do invite all the city council to please attend. This is a free community event, and I have invitations for each one of you. And even Mark can have one. Thank you, and God bless.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the invitation. Next up, Ryan Coulter. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ryan Coulter, and I live at 522 Petroleum Club Road. So I decided to save my comments. We obviously know why I'm here speaking regarding the cannabis businesses in Taft. I saved my comments until after the decision was made because most of you made it very clear that you have decided to prohibit based on the shaky framework of the laws as they stand. From your comments, Mayor Pro Tem, you guys have seen that there's the emergency ordinance out from the Bureau of Cannabis Control. So they're slowly clarifying things, but I do agree that there's a little bit more work until everyone can feel safe to knowing what they're voting on. That being said, you made a wise decision. However, a lot of qualms that people have within the city, including yours, Mr. Mayor, as I'm only addressing you because you've been the one that is most outspoken against this, and also the one who has attempted to educate himself the most in his arguments. And for that, I commend you and thank you. However, reviewing the last meeting that I had that was here that we attended, most of those comments pertain to personal use, and if anything, they give us one more reason why this should be a regulated market. What that does for our city, that's up for us to decide and renegotiate and discuss in January. However, I won't elaborate on my position because it's kind of clear, but I think most of the arguments against this are strictly against the dispensary side of things and personal use. Not one time have I heard a strong, solidified statistic or crime statistic against crimes having to do with cultivation facilities. And that not being addressed when we are specifically addressing the idea of bringing a cultivation facility into town, I find quite troubling. No one can bring anything forward against it besides their own personal bias. Furthermore, the RMA question. I got a copy of that email between our assistant city manager and the RMA, and her response is as follows, and I will present this to you officially as of now so it can be on the docket. Lon, I apologize for not responding sooner. Due to the relatively new legal status in California, the law regarding potential litigation arising out of allowing the operation of a cannabis facility is not well developed. At this time, there is nothing in the MOC that specifically excludes coverage. That is, a cannabis facility or business would be viewed as any other business seeking a business license and or governed by the city municipal code. Given the controversial nature of the issue, a business may have a valid inverse condemnation claim or suit if the city authorizes such a business, the business flourishes, and then the city later determines that it does not want such a business in the city after all. Depending on the allegations, such a claim is not likely to be covered under the MOC. If you have any further questions or comments, please do not hesitate to call me. So, the question of, or in the interpretation of our esteemed city attorney, as to whether or not the MOC will cover future litigations if something were to arise, seems to only pertain to if the business itself were to bring a suit, as it stands, to the city, against the city. Other than that, there's a very elaborate and distinct hold harmless clause in the language of the ordinance that allows this business, saying that the business would take care of or any litigation costs against the city due to any business or any litigation that pursues based on our business. Sorry, do you need something, Mayor? Or are you just clearing your throat?
No, just clear my throat.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, please continue.
Anyway, that's really all I have to say. I just wanted to, this was kind of confusing. It was also confusing to me as why this wasn't on public record at the last meeting, since it was such a large part of the decision seemingly being made last time. So I fixed that by presenting it publicly today. Thank you all for taking this into consideration and looking at it objectively from both sides. I think you made a great decision, and I appreciate the motion for you to visit at further meeting.
Next up, Paul Linder.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I'll be brief. We're just here to let you know how much we appreciate your considerations of item 14 and 15 on the council agenda tonight. please approve number 15 as the clock has been ordered. We're making no assumptions, but the clock is on its way, and we'll wait on your decision on item 14. But thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Paul, did you want to elaborate any further than what your presentation is right now on those two items?
No, the letters that I sent stand, and I think the council has seen a mock-up of the clock itself.
So pulling the item off the consent calendar allowed the Oil Raw to speak. You're speaking your words now.
I have nothing further to say other than if you had any questions regarding those two items. Okay. Thank you.
But it can be pulled for further discussion if you'd care to. All right, next up, council statements, non-action. Councilman Miller.
I have no statements tonight other than wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully you're going to be able to be with your family and enjoy a great day. It looks like the mayor ordered up good weather for at least in Taft. But it is the busiest time of the year on the roads, and you just got to be careful out there. So slow down, keep an eye out, leave early, and arrive back safely. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilman Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor. I too like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. It seems like Thanksgiving's giving away like Christmas, losing the true meaning of Thanksgiving. You know, everybody's looking forward to Black Friday now, so and Christmas is more like not a holiday anymore. But there's a reason why we have Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving to our God, our church, the whole thing was about, and to our earlier settlers, to the Indians and stuff. There's a lot of things that contribute that we lost the true meaning of it. And as we go home and celebrate on Thursday, think about our families, think about our military overseas and what they're doing to give up, so continue having the Thanksgiving that we're having today, and to our fellow men. We're here to thank everybody for being here. But there's more to it than Black Friday, and I just want to make that distinction that we're starting to lose that identity, and so that's what I want to say on that. As far as Veterans Day, that was terrific. The American Legion at OTs, great job they did. I'd like to thank Mr. Coulter for singing the national anthem. He did a great job at OTs and also at our veterans part. It was terrific. Everybody well received it. I was impressed too on there. And our Councilman Miller for emceeing it, and our mayor for being there, handing out the awards, and I'd like to thank the city staff and our city manager, the great job they did, and now the food they had there and the cook they did, and it was such a great, let's call it a true American Veterans Day celebration that Taft always seems to do the best, show our city shine in front of everybody. We just have a really great deal, and like I say, have a very safe Thanksgiving, and be careful driving, because a lot of crazy people out there driving out there, driving an accident. But God bless you all, and thank you, and have a good day. Thank you.
Councilman Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll continue to beat this dead horse, and good fun, and definitely with good cheer. I want to wish everyone a Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. Obviously, everyone's going to have a Thanksgiving. Hope it's fantastic, safe. I want to echo Councilman Cryer's sentiment about the city staff's work and the locals' contributions to the Veterans Day ceremony. That was tremendous. Some of the people I really want to recognize, though, holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas. We don't give enough thanks to the people who don't get to go home. Veterans are a prime example of that. People who are actively serving, whether they're here domestically or deployed overseas. From the bottom of my heart, I want to tell those people thank you. We don't always see eye to eye on every single thing, and we never will, but that's the beauty of what they're trying to protect and what they get to protect on our behalf. So I want to say thank you to those folks from the bottom of my heart, and also local law enforcement officers. I know we'll have a number of officers out on the streets patrolling, whether they're going to be Taft PD. CHP is going to be on high alert, probably one of their busiest seasons of the year, as well as local sheriff's deputies. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to those folks for coming on and serving us when everyone's at home, getting fat and drunk on turkey and gravy. So I definitely want to say thank you to those guys. And lastly, I want to wish on behalf of myself, and I hope on behalf of my fellow council members, Les Clark Jr. He's going to call it a career either this week or on Friday. After many, many years serving the oil industry, especially the local guys. And I want to wish Les a very happy retirement, as he calls it a career. Look forward to seeing him around more recreationally, and I hope that he enjoys doing other things besides working in his twilight. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind everybody that Small Business Shopping Saturday is this coming Saturday, and support your local small businesses wherever you may be. They need you out there. Also on December 4th, we have the parade. So for those of you who are going to be in it, make sure you go and see the Chamber of Commerce to make sure they have your entry. And for those of you who aren't, please go watch it, because we always look so good in that parade. And Cruise Night is the Friday before that. So we have a lot of things happening. So that's all I have.
Busy time in the city of Taft. That's a fact. I too enjoyed the Veterans Day celebrations, both of them. I mean, it was great to see those people. As a matter of fact, there was a couple of veterans that showed up at the park, and they happened to see the flag flying up there. And one walked up to me and looked around at all the flags and everything and said, "What's going on here?" And he was actually wearing a Vietnam veteran's hat. I said, "Well, it's just people celebrating and saying thanks. Appreciate your sacrifice. I would have think that you are a veteran." He said, "Yes, indeed I am. I know anything about this." And I said, "Why don't you come on down here and have a meal, and let everybody say thank you." And he said, "Well, I'm going to go get my wife." And he went, got his wife, and he came back. So hopefully more people will know about it next year. I'm going to get a bigger flag. Maybe more people will see it from further away. And one of the veterans that showed up there, who happens to be a friend of mine, is an outstanding cook at a barbecue. This guy can barbecue anything, and he said that what he would like to do for all the veterans next year is actually barbecue and really step that up, and I know he'll do that. So as good as it was this year, I believe it'll be better next year, and it was well attended. So congratulations to everybody involved in both of those celebrations. They're very important. And I too wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. One needn't look very far to know how fortunate we are. I've been fortunate enough to travel abroad in some third world countries. I tell my children that on our very worst day in the United States, we're living. And I've been places abroad where on their very best day, they're surviving. Know the difference. Don't take those things for granted. All right, next up. Planning Commission report. So let me back up here. I do believe our Kern Cog representative is in the building. Would you give us your name and address for the record, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Rob Ball. I'm the planning director at Kern Cog, and I have some material and a brief 5-minute presentation about it.
Very good.
Is there going to be a test, Bob?
There is homework, but no
really?
test.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
So, and for the public also, here's some.
Marshall said he's never had a 5-minute presentation before.
35 minutes.
This was a short meeting, so we're glad you snuck in there in time.
Looks like I already missed the important stuff. So, hey, thank you for this opportunity. It's always a great, really good to get out and speak to our member jurisdictions at Kern Cog. As you know, Orchard Pryor represents you guys very well on our on Kern Cog's board, and we view ourselves as an extension of your staff here at the city. So at any time, please don't hesitate to pick up the phone, give us a call. If you have a question about something's going on in the related to transportation or other regional issues, we'd be happy to work with you in there. What we're doing is we're going out to all the cities, and I have here a list of our meetings, and I showed the Taft City Council meeting at 7 o'clock tonight, so I'm glad I showed it a little bit early. I don't know why that was there, but one of the first handouts is a table with some green bars on it. And those green bars are the estimated new funds that the city of Taft will be receiving in those columns for the new SB1 12-cent per gallon gas tax and the DMV fee and all that stuff. And so it shows Taft when the money is in full swing, about $215,000 a year, You can expect this year 54 plus another 10, so about 64,000 this year in funds to maintain your roads. In SB1, about 2/3 of the funding goes to road maintenance. Of that 2/3, half is to go to the local jurisdictions and half goes to state highways. And then the other third is a mix of primarily transit funding. And that's the other green column on here. Taft, it should be seeing an increase in transit funding by about $72,000 per year when it's in full funding. And this $72,000 provides some additional flexibility for the city of Taft, where you can actually use that $72,000 where you might be using your TDA funds, which are a little more flexible. And so you could supplant that $72,000, possibly shift some of that TDA funds over into your road maintenance and improve your road maintenance with that. Also wanted to show you that we have a breakout of the overall transportation funding. I won't go into a lot of detail on there, but you can see that there's revenues, expenditures, and there's even an estimated set of benefits that over the next 24 years, the long-range transportation plan will have enough funding to provide an additional 17,300 jobs over the next 24 years. And then also the table with the blue columns. Let's see, I think there's a Taft Maricopa on the very back of the handout. We're showing about 5.2% of the expenditures benefiting southwest Kern County. And that's not just within the Taft area, that includes up into Bakersfield, that Taft Citizens Drive. And you guys are about 2.6% of the population, so you're leveraging there. For your homework, I have this chart right here, and this is a breakout of the projects in the Regional Transportation Plan. And what we're asking is by Friday, November 30th, to go through this list, make sure that all your projects that you're looking for are on this list. The big change this year is we've just completed the active transportation plan that Kern Cog Board voted for on last Thursday. And the active transportation plan has a much more detailed list of bike and pedestrian facilities. And so we've provided that more detailed list of bike and pedestrian facilities in here, as well as some maps. We were out here for the Rails to Trails days and had people fill out maps and draw on the maps of where they thought projects were needed, maintenance projects, those as well as road widening projects. There's a lot of interest in, of course, 119 and Highway 33 down here in this area. And then we also then have maps in here of countywide of bike lanes as well as bike lanes in the City of Taft area, and also pedestrian facilities. And so the board action last Thursday was to approve the active transportation plan subject to local member agency changes. And so we'd like to get those changes by November 30th. If you need more time, contact us directly, or if you want to work through staff, that would work well also. And then finally, I have this fancy brochure that talks about our outreach process. Kern Cog went out to about 24 locations and got input from 5,000 people. The most most of that participation was at the Kern County Fairgrounds. We had over 1,000 people come by and give us information. They would mark up those maps, and you'll notice in Bakersfield, Union Avenue is the #1 maintenance project. That's primarily because everybody who was going to the fair says, "Hey, yeah, that road needs to be fixed." And so you got to look at those maps with you don't just take them as gospel. There are maps on that map. There's little circles that give you an estimate of how many people from each part of the county at the various meetings participated in those. We also have another list of of benefits, some of the economic benefits, as well as mobility benefits for the region, and some sustainability benefits. And finally, I want to point out a little bit about our planning assumptions. We have this one map that shows a bunch of little red lines. Those red lines are projects that we have not identified funding, but have come up in past funding cycles that this is a project that needs to be built. And you might recognize some of those on 119 and 33. It's an ongoing issue. We need to find the funding for those projects. And then also land use assumptions. One of the things that our regional transportation plan really looks at is the need to have vibrant communities in outlying areas where the jobs are. And by doing that, by giving people an option to live where there's plenty of retail, amenities, and those types of things within that community, it gives people an opportunity to not have to drive as far to where they work. And that lowers overall VMT and not only emissions, but it also allows us to delay the need for additional projects in the future. So we can stretch out our road transportation dollars that way. And so that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions related to that at this time. Appreciate your time, and thank you for indulging my tardiness. So.
You don't have to leave. Any questions?
Well, I do.
Okay.
Everybody's kind of giddy about this new gas tax and 12 cents a gallon, and we've been paying it since November 1. When are the cities going to get their first check?
Mid-January will be the first checks that you'll see for the maintenance portions.
One of the things I've understood from staff is after that was passed, the state has issued a 28-page document about all the rules and what you have to do to qualify for to get that money. And we were looking at that we would have to spend, if I'm not mistaken, $800,000 in road funds out of our general fund to get $200,000 from this gas tax.
Additional, not offset.
Yeah. Can you clarify this on
It's
that?
called a maintenance of effort.
We were talking a little bit about that at the staff level. I can't remember the details on that. Can you refresh my memory on what the details
right
were?
now, there's a lot of disturbing things in the legislation of this gas tax that has staff concerned. We're having a meeting in December to meet with the Public Works Committee to see if we can accept some of these items in the legislation for the gas tax to accept it. There's a lot of things that are not the final determination hasn't been made, so you're agreeing to something that could change that's concerning. The main thing for the city of Taft is our maintenance of effort. They chose years back in 2009, 10, 11, 12, when the city of Taft was spending a lot of general fund money for the roads. And that's where they set the bar at a maintenance of effort, where if you agree to take this money, you have to maintain those levels back from those years. Now, we have met with our auditors, and we're auditing the state controller's reports to make sure that everything that was included in that maintenance of effort was correct, and possibly lower that if the state controller will, to a level where the city can accept the money and still put up the money for road maintenance, is it's a year-by-year basis. If you take the money, you spend the money, and you can, to my understanding, you don't have to do it every year if you don't choose to. Right now, it's $56,000 or $60,000, somewhere around there. They have extended the timeline for us to submit projects. That's why we're having a meeting in December. Hopefully we'll have more information to bring it to the city council to see if we would like to submit for those projects.
Yeah, just goes no free lunch here.
That's true.
For us to spend $200,000 to get $800,000, that's way you normally get when you deal with grants and funds and stuff like that. But there's no way in heck that we're going to be able to come up with 800,000 to apply for 200,000.
There are other caveats
Doesn't
that go
make
with
sense.
it too, as well, that make it even more difficult. So just so that everybody out there, and I'm glad you alluded to that, Councilman Miller, because if we don't have projects available that get approved and we can't afford the maintenance of effort and we cannot put up with the other special requirements placed on this program by the state after the fact, then we will not be able to accept those funds. So you, the taxpayer, fuel buyer, are being charged, and you are paying those, and the city of Taft could very well not see a nickel of that.
There was a similar case with a refund of the gas tax increase and stuff.
So here you go again with the great shell game. So it all sounds really great, and they made it sound really great when they pushed this, but in point of fact, we don't need to fill the room with people wondering when we're going to repave their alleyway, because right now, staff is working diligently at trying to figure out if we as a community can even afford to use any of that money.
Read the 26 pages.
Yeah, and the 28 pages of, what would you call it?
Guidelines.
Guidelines weren't in the documents that people voted on in November. And so we feel like our $200,000 is going to go to the West Coast, to the larger cities, and because we just simply won't be able to afford it. So we'll probably won't accept that money, and our residents are paying for fixing a freeway in San Jose or something.
The way I understand it, the way it'll work is once you submit projects, you'll get a monthly allotment based off of your eligible money, and then that money will be audited at a time in the future, maybe 1 or 2 years. But if you don't meet the guidelines when they audit you, it could say you owe all that money back.
You gonna
So
dig up a
it's-
road? We're gonna have to go dig up a road and give it back?
No, we would have to pay them
That's what
back
I'm
out of our
saying.
general fund for
We
the
have to
money
make
we
it up
spend.
somewhere.
But the problem is once you spend their money, you're spending according to state guidelines, which include all the prevailing wage and all these other things. So actually, you're spending a lot more money than you would if you would have done the maintenance with your own forces.
So again, sounds great, but when you get down to the details, it's not good at all.
And just to let you know that Kern Cog staff will be working closely with your staff to try and ferret out what the exact requirements and best path is for your guys' community through these guidelines. They threw those guidelines together awfully fast as well. They were coming. There's 5 major different programs that we're trying to find the best path to get through. So.
Perhaps they should have considered that before they put that proposition together, huh?
Yeah.
Or maybe they should have just turned the money straight over to the...
I do, on a personal note, I remember telling everybody out there, hey, anytime the government wants to handle one more nickel of your money, grab your wallet and run out the door, because they have a terrible history with handling your money.
And the other thing, Rob, real quick, the underlying 34 cents or whatever we were paying before, is that still being allotted towards roads and as it should be, or are they stealing that money and we're only talking about this 12 cents that's going to go to roads?
In this breakout,
Yeah.
there's the gas tax apportionment for streets and highways, and so that number has not changed. The SB1, when it was passed, they passed another law to keep SB1 funds from being borrowed by the state legislature, but they did not protect that funding column. So they haven't borrowed it yet, but one of the things they did do with this is that if you look at the third green column, they're actually requiring that the state pay back past loans, and Taft is getting about $30,000 a year for the first 3 years of the program, which is a payback from past loans from the Highway Trust Fund. So,
Well, on that, how much of that will be going to high-speed rail? And also, is that money going also to like different communities, and rural communities for low-income housing and stuff? All that funding.
SB1 has some odd programs for like planning funds, and a lot of transit-oriented development. one thing that we've seen out of Sacramento for the past 15, 20 years is the funding pots that used to go primarily for widening your roads and improving your road system are now going to build transit centers and bike and pedestrian facilities. And our communities, including yours, have been very adept at going after the money in the pot that it's coming out of to get back our fair share of the transportation funds. The actual funding related to high-speed rail, there isn't in SB1 any funding that's been identified for high-speed rail. However, the cap and trade program, which is about 12 cents on refining, the cost of refining. That's remember when they had the leaded fuel? The concept of cap and trade came out of when they switched from leaded fuel to unleaded. And what they did is they created this fee program that if you were going to produce leaded fuel, you had to pay into this program, and then that program funded conversion of the refineries to unleaded fuel. And it did it in like 5 years. Suddenly everybody was on unleaded fuel, and you didn't even notice it. They're trying to do the same thing now for the refineries related to alternative fuel, or what do you call it? Low greenhouse gas emissions fuel, like the biofuels, that kind of stuff, where they put in a higher percentage of biofuel blend into that to reduce the carbon emissions from the non-renewable carbon emissions from the fuel. So they've created that. Well, instead of taking that fee and using it for the conversion of the refineries, they're using that fee for other projects that reduce CO2 emissions, such as transit centers, bike and pedestrian projects, those types of things. And 25% of that 12 cent per gallon that is that is a refining cost. It's not really a tax. It's a fee based upon refining. This is what they tell me. Okay, it is, but it's 12 cents that we're all paying. Is 25% of that is going to high-speed rail over the next 5 years, and could be extended another 5 years. And I can't remember, it's like $3 billion or something like that over 10 years for high-speed rail through that. So there is some fund coming, but it's not coming through SB1. There is some, like I said, that unprotected column in there, that some state legislature could come in and create some new law that, right now, though, it depends on who's the next governor. It'll be whether or not high-speed rail gets more funding. So.
If I may, I think I can help you with that, Councilman. In order to issue the bonds and sell the bonds that were voted on by the voters for high-speed rail, the governor had to come up with a funding source. He had to meet the constitutional demands, which meant he had to prove he had a funding source to complete the project, which was high-speed rail. They said when they started that project that the flood of private money would be amazing. Everybody want to jump on board and all this money would come pouring in. Well, you know how much has come pouring in? Zero. That's right. That's an easy number to make, zero. So what the governor then needed was he needed a funding source. So cap and trade money was sitting there, and by declaring high-speed rail the only shovel-ready project that would reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the state of California, that freed up all that cap and trade money to fund high-speed rail. Once he did that, then he was able to go prove in court that he had a funding source, because you just said they can even extend that by 5 more years, and then he can sell bonds. So the great shell game continues. It's much like Prop 30 when they created the constitutionally protected funding source for kindergarten through high school. Remember Prop 30? That's right. Of course, we all knew we were already funding kindergarten through high school, but by creating a constitutionally protected funding source, then it slid in there, it displaced The stuff that wasn't protected, much what like you just said, that was able to go through the back door, back into the general fund, and backfill the gaping black hole that is the unfunded liability in CalSTRS, which, by the way, some of the money from that is going to fill the gaping hole in the California Highway Patrol's unfunded liability, among others. I'm sure you know.
Yeah. Just kind of bring this back to Kern. Our number one issue that we hear from the public is maintain, fix, and finish the roads you have. Let's go ahead and put the money back into those roads and get them maintained. We're short on the amount of transportation funding still, even with SB1. Countywide, it's about 40% of the total need to get up to a really good pavement condition in the next 10 years. And so even with SB1. So had SB1 not come along, we would have had a huge issue. And so we really need to work closely with your staff to make sure you guys are able to get access to those funds, even if it means pursuing legislation. So we'd be very interested in working with your staff on that. So.
Access to those funds is going to be critical. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, I do have some questions.
Absolutely.
I know that Councilmember Miller brought up the idea of grant funding by way of the funds that are generated by SB1. I'm glad that you brought it up because after going to League of Cities, that was one of the things I immediately brought back to the city manager was us wanting to pursue those funds. But at the end of the day, our current spending this fiscal year and the previous fiscal year is about $350,000 in road funds. And I think Councilmember Miller and City Manager Jones mentioned that we're looking at maintenance of effort of over $800,000. So more than double what we are currently spending, what we balanced our budget to spend. We didn't have to be pulled out of our hats somewhere to go back and get some more money just to put another Band-Aid on the road. So it's unfortunate. One of the things, though, that I'm really happy to see on this project list is the idea of expanding Taft Highway to 4 lanes. Obviously, we've done a little bit of expansion, or at least the county has done some expansion, added some driving lanes up over Elk Hills, and I think that's a good thing. But one of the biggest bottlenecks we have is our connection to I-5, our connection to 99 from the west side. So I'm really, really happy that those are on the short list. Whatever it's going to take for us to hopefully push those forward. Believe me, you've got my support because we've got ample commercial land, industrial land, and I look forward to bringing some of those trucks this way. We've got a brand new business out off of Black Gold Court. It's going to be bringing plenty of trucks this way, and I look forward to bringing more. So whatever it's going to take to have us help support that, at least you've got my support. Thank you.
Right, well, I think those projects on 119 is probably 20 years plus down the road, probably for the reality.
I got at least 25 more years here on the west side,
Yeah.
whether I'm on the dais or not, so keep them coming.
But I know on the high-speed rail continue on that was that we had a lady from Sacramento give a little short presentation there that they're talking 2025 just to go to Bakersfield, and then 2029 to go the rest of the route. And I think like a lot of us on there, I'm not gonna say all, but don't think it'll happen in our lifetime. But we'll probably have one of the finest bike trail or walking trail that money can buy. In our, like the Crescent walk in the mountains there, and it's unbelievable. And they were putting in there that they're going to ever see it in reality in my lifetime, and maybe my grandkids die.
Probably.
Just related to that, you recall, Orchel, and Randy, you remember this too, the list of 66 projects. One of the actions that was taken last Thursday was next January have a meeting to begin to reevaluate that list of 66 projects, see if we can move some things forward. For the first time in many years, we actually have money in the STIP. And so, and the city of Bakersfield is going after some major grants that may offset some of its funding. And so we think that it may be possible where we've been pushing back the list of 66 projects, including 119 has been pushed back several times. We were able to fund the truck passing lanes, but that was about it. So there may be some new opportunities now with new, more flexible funding sources than what we had several years ago. However, within the next 10 to 20 years, that the state is creating policies or looking at policies that would reduce fossil fuels as the mode of powering our transportation system within the state. And that's where this bulk of this gas tax comes. There was a little bit of VMT tax, or not a VMT tax, but for on electric vehicles, it was like $100 a vehicle. It's only about 2 or 3% of the total funding coming in. So we're going to be upside down again in our road maintenance in the next 20 years if we can't figure out a way to permanently fix our transportation funding system. Some people talk about a VMT-based tax, something along those lines. So a lot of challenges in transportation over the next 20 years.
Well, we hope you don't leave tonight thinking we beat you up.
You guys are nice.
We're all very appreciative of what Kern Cog does.
Absolutely.
To protect Kern County as a whole and the west side. And we've, enjoyed some good funds and grants and gotten things done through Kern Cog. And if it wasn't for your and the rest of the staff's efforts and the board, we wouldn't have what we have. So it's a fight all the time to get that money and to get Kern County relevant when it comes to funding. So we believe you do a great job. We just have some frustrations.
So don't hesitate to call us.
Any other questions? It is, and just finally, it is rather ironic, and the people out there that are paying those taxes need to know that they would think, okay, I voted yes on it because you said that those monies are going to flow into my community and they're going to fix the roads. And then the irony here is that your local government, your local municipality has to fight tooth and nail to try to get your share of the funds into your community to put on your roads. So even though you said yes and you pay every time you buy fuel, the fight's just beginning, and what you see and what you're hearing discussion here is not that Kern Cog is not trying to do everything they can to help us get those funds, but Sacramento is doing everything they can to hang on to those funds. So that's the fight. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, next up, department reports, item number 6. Do we have any department reports?
Planning Commission.
Oh, Planning Commission report. See, I checked that off when I went backwards. I'm sorry. So we have a Planning Commissioner here, if you would, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Knorr, Mayor Pro Tem Hill, councilmen, and city staff. Our meeting was pretty
Susan,
brief.
would you introduce yourself?
No. Sorry. Susan Banner, 414 Palm Street, Taft. Again, our meeting was pretty brief with what we've been going through the last few months with everything. It was basically an informational meeting only regarding Title VI, Chapter 12 and Chapter 15. 12 regarding the zoning ordinance to habitation of recreational vehicles. 15, again, the zoning ordinance regarding signs, the signage in the city. Again, it was basically an informational meeting. We had no attendance as far as just us on the commission, so it was kind of good for me, being the rookie, to ask a lot of questions, which I did. And so we adjourned from there. I'd also like to take this opportunity to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving from all of us from the commission. And I'd like to wish that to the city of Taft and all our surrounding areas as well. And I'd like to take the opportunity right now to inform everyone of a community Thanksgiving feast. Debbie McLean and many of the good people of Taft are putting together a lunch from 11 to 1 on Thanksgiving Day at the Moose Lodge. What's nice about that as well is that if you're a shut-in, elderly, or handicapped and you can't come there, Kay Sullivan and again, Debbie McLean will deliver to you, take them to you. And is it all right if I boast their phone numbers at this time?
It's okay with her.
It is. I got permission. Debbie's number is 437-5565. Kay Sullivan is 747-6487. And they would love to deliver dinner. City, with the people that we have in our city, there should be no reason for anyone to go without a dinner. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Spent 3 or 4 hours there with my son last year. It was fantastic. Look forward to doing it again.
Very good. All right, now then, department reports. Item number 7. No department reports. Okay. That was item number 6. Item number 7 is city manager statements. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a few road projects coming up. One will be on Church Street. The other one will be on 6th Street between Main and Supply Row, which will include some sidewalks and some curb and gutter and paving there by the rails to trails. Just want to point out that a lot of people question, why does the city choose and the county choose, like on 8th Street, start tearing up roads in the middle of November with school being in and holidays coming and making the road a mess and people having to detour into neighborhoods. Well, government agencies like the county and the city do not choose to do those projects during that time. Usually it's a 2-year cycle of getting those projects approved because they're usually federally or state funded and partially, a good majority of it. And there's a lot of paperwork that gets submitted to the state agencies, Caltrans, and there's a funding cycle, and that money has to be spent in a certain period. Well, usually by the time that they approve for you to move ahead with a construction contract, your timelines are very short to spend that money. So generally, unless it's in the middle of January, February, March where you're having a lot of rain, you launch on those projects because you don't want to jeopardize losing the money or losing the money that you've spent on the engineering to get those projects going. So we don't choose to tear up the roads during that time. It's just the way it happens. Another project that we're working on is a CDBG funded project. It's close to 900,000 total, and that is for infill sidewalks and ADA improvements in the neighborhood of the South Streets between 6th and 10th, between Front and Oak Street. It's an older neighborhood, and there's some curb and gutter up there, and there's a lot missing between the houses, and there's really no ADA improvements up there. So that project was funded through CDBG because it is considered one of our areas that are a little slightly disadvantaged. So we were eligible to use our funding for that. So we're happy to get that on the road. And like all projects, that project has a slim timeline. We had to rush to get it approved. We had to jump through a lot of hoops. Yvette was there all the way to try to get the CDBG to sign off on everything. They finally did, so it is in the design phase. It is being surveyed, so if you see surveyors out there, that's what they're doing. So hopefully that'll go into construction early part of next year, hopefully in January. So that's some things going, and we'll have some more road projects coming with the money that the city has funded out of its budget for road projects. So.
Very good. That's good news. Thank you very much. It's never a convenient time to tear up a road or a sidewalk.
Well, a lot of people say, why don't you do it in the summertime? Why don't you do it in the summertime when school's out and people are on vacation? And
that's when the kids are on the road and on the sidewalks, for heaven's sake. All right. Thank you very much, City Manager Jones. Next up, item number 8, future agenda requests. Yes.
I do have one.
Yes.
You know, we're Tappan very much a pro-business city. We enjoy trying to attract new businesses here. And I know Kern County is trying to attract Amazon here to come here, and they're only budgeted up to $800,000 in tax incentives or something like that, and Fresno beat them out because they offer more. I'm not saying we're going to be like Kern County or like Fresno, but is there a way we visit what we have to attract, say, business over 50 or 100 people here, do industry that would be new industry here, that we can offer some better incentives or look into it that we can give to the city?
If I can comment, a lot of times those companies put out requests for information about their placement of where they want to be and what they expect for incentives and how quickly they have to have their projects approved. But just wanted to point out generally, and we've done this for other businesses, council's aware, is there's generally incentives that the city can enter into with any business, which is a development agreement similar to what we did with the hotel, where we returned a percentage of their taxes back to them over a period of time as an incentive for the construction costs. So just wanted to.
Do we have like restrictions on that? How much authority we can give to you to do that?
That is a legal opinion that would have to be determined by the city attorney of gift of public funds, and when it exceeds the public interest and it leans more towards the interest of the business individual, then I believe that that's when you've exceeded your public interest finding for development agreements.
Then how does Fresno or Kern County get away with it if we don't know if they're able to offer?
That's handled on a case-by-case basis, so it's hard to have just a blanket number.
They're restricted. They couldn't offer more till it got voted on by the council. They had to couldn't offer until they came back, and then they voted on it. They'd raise it. I'm not sure what it was, but they did raise it up to how much they can offer a business to come to Kern County. I was wondering if we had some restriction or something.
Well, I can mention there's a few businesses, retailers that's contacted us recently from our trip to ICSC about new development, new businesses, and when they asked Mark for our fee schedule, our building fees, our sewer connection fees, and the biggest thing they want to know is what's your impact fees? What's your school fees, your highway impact fees? Do I have to pay for signalization of intersections, schools, parks? We don't have any of that, and that's a huge incentive right there, because sometimes they're set back that our fees are so low for the development and the building fees. So much so that I've had a few leave the planning department and email me 2 or 3 times because they want to get my verification on their email that I'm agreeing with the estimates that were sent to them. Not saying that they're written in stone, but an instance where a hotel developer in another area was estimated at $125,000, and when they went through the process, it was almost $400,000. So when they're asking for estimates, they like to know, if it's within $10,000 or $15,000, they're okay with that. So, I mean, we do have some incentives. Our weaknesses, like Councilman Bryant pointed out, is our proximity to I-5, 99, our workforce, those type of things. But we can work with the city attorney if you guys would like to make a list of things that you guys would be considered, to offer. That way, we kind of know where we're at. But every business is different. I mean, it's just like the hotel; they have TOT tax. We would rather get 50% TOT tax over 3 years so we can get 100% after they build it than them not build it at all. So it makes sense.
That's some kind of looking at what can we do to maybe have a bigger project, except for instead of a small restaurant, something like a big project, maybe some type of, could be aerospace or aeronautical, it could be some widgets down there, blowing widgets that might employ 100 people.
We worked very hard with recently with a glass manufacturer that manufactures glass for industrial, commercial, and our houses. And it was going to employ somewhat over 150 people, good paying jobs, and we lost those. We lost that company to San Bernardino because of logistics. Because once they did the math on the trucking, where their distribution points were, it just didn't pencil out for them. Even though our development cost was extremely lower, and we had the workforce available, we had the water and everything for them. Once they crunched the numbers, the trucking was going to just, over the years, because they penciled it out over 40 years, that they just couldn't afford to do it.
Thank you.
All right.
I have a future agenda request, but I notice on our agenda, item 7.5 is missing our city attorney's statements. I don't know if he did that on purpose or not, but did you have anything for tonight, Mr.
Oh,
Epperson?
he said he's the attorney. He's speaking in time.
I didn't say it exactly like that. However, that's the gist of it. Yes, Councilman Miller, I have no comment tonight. However, I ask that be removed because I so seldom have a comment usually when I do, it's relevant to the particular issue we're discussing, and I
Well,
just
don't-
interrupt.
I don't think you can do that. I think we have to approve that, don't we, to remove?
Well, you
No,
can certainly
no, I
put
mean,
it back on if you'd like.
The agenda is set in our ordinances, I believe.
Oh, I'd have to double check
I
that.
don't know about the public, the statements were added in there at one point by request, I think, but I don't know if it's ever.
All right, well, okay, I wanted you to know that I noticed, so.
Well,
anyway.
thank you very much, Councilman.
Anyway,
Mr. Statement.
I have a future agenda request for, to come back in the 1st of January, or our first meeting in January, and no later than the March 1st meeting in 2018, to look at our zoning ordinance amendment number 2017-14, after I'm asking that we look at the commercial grow, manufacturing distribution portion of that amendment after staff review, maybe planning commission review, and final information from the state.
So you're asking for an informational staff report on the status of?
So that we can look at that portion of the amendment 2017-14, and also information from the RMA if they come back with some final yeses or nos on the issue. So come back as at least a staff report, maybe not a resolution, but something that we could look at and then move forward or say no or make an informed decision.
I'd concur with that.
That's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, I did want to bring up, last meeting I brought up an idea, or brought up the suggestion that staff report to us about parks and our fees. Is that on a future item, future agenda? We talked about park fees.
Right. You had said that you would be addressing that and bringing it back in January, I believe. They needed staff time.
Not a problem. I just want to make sure that it didn't
It's
go over.
on,
It is
it's on the Public Works staff's calendar to get it on.
That's all I need to know. Thank you. I do have one other item, Mr. Mayor. I would ask that it's Public Works, our city staff would look at the engineering and the costs for ultimately upgrading the intersection at Gas Company Road and Gardenfield Road. Looking at that. There's obviously some significant trucking that's happening and is going to be increasing over the next number of years, and I'd like for us to look at that and see what might be available so we can make it more beneficial to the folks who are doing business out there and the folks who want to be doing business out there.
Okay?
Oh, I have
I'll concur with
I'll
that.
concur. I'm sorry.
Nobody else thinks it's a good idea. I don't mind. It's all right. I just want.
Actually, I think it's a good idea, but since my company is out there, I didn't know if it was a good idea if I concurred, so I was going to
Understood.
give somebody else.
Understood.
All right, thank you very much. We
And-
got concurrence from Councilman Muller.
Obviously, no timeline on that specifically. Obviously, we want to make sure we do our due diligence.
It's been a
But
concern before. But we have looked in, but we can get a new cost estimate or try to find an alternative way to do it.
All right, very good. I also have an agenda request. Actually, in doing all the research that I have done on this cannabis issue, in every aspect of it, including the crime issue, I have spoken with the supervising deputy district attorney, Cynthia Zimmer, regarding this, and she is prepared to come to a study session and speak to the entire city council. So I would ask concurrence that get placed on the agenda for the first meeting in January as a study session. I have concurrence. Thank you very much. All right, is that all the things we're getting placed on the agenda? Very good then.
Yeah.
That's more than we have ever had in any single council meeting. We set a new record. All right. Next up, consent calendar items 9 through 15. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Hearing none. Items on the consent calendar are item number 9, the minutes for the November 21st, 2017 regular meeting. Item number 10, payment of bills, about $730,000. Item number 11, emergency repair of administrative and medical department roof for Taft Modified Community Correctional Facility. And that recommendation is a motion to accept a bid from Midstate Sheet Metal in the amount of $246,150 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. Item number 12 is a possible blackout of the January 2nd, 2018 City Council meeting. Motion is to approve the cancellation of the January 2nd, 2018 City Council meeting. Item 13 is the approval of street closures for the Christmas parade on December the 4th, 2017. Recommendation is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft authorizing the street closures for the 2017 Christmas parade. Item 14, consideration of request from Oil Dorado Inc. to name the new event center the Oil Dorado Room. Recommendation is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft naming the new event center located at the City of Taft Transit Building, 550 Supply Road, Taft, California, the quote-unquote Oil Dorado Room. Finally, item number 15 is to accept the donation of a 48-inch backlit exterior clock from Oil Dorado Inc. Recommendation is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft accepting a donation of a 48-inch backlit exterior clock from the Executive Board of Oil Dorado Inc., value $5,465, to be placed on a clock tower of the new city transit building. Does any council member wish to remove any of these items from the consent calendar?
Number 11.
From 11. All right. Any other items? All right. Hearing none. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Madam Clerk, I may have to abstain on item 14 and 15 as I am entering my 40th year on the Executive Oil Dorado Committee, and it irritates me to no end that I can't vote for this item. So, just let you know.
May we
I'll vote
take
for
a
it.
step back then? May we amend this? I would like items 14 and 15 removed from the consent calendar, please. So,
That means I have to leave the room, so.
Okay, so a motion.
now he's got to
Thank you.
I know. I'm sorry, bud. So, the motion is approve consent calendar items 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, 12, and 13.
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
and Mayor Knorr.
Yes, and that's approved on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, item number 11, emergency repair of administrative and medical department roof for Taft Modified Community Correctional Facility. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. With the recent rains, the Taft MCCF has experienced leaks in the roof of the administrative and medical department that no longer can be repaired by our maintenance department. It is the intent of the Taft Community Correctional Facility to have an emergency roof repair completed prior to the rainy season to prevent future health and safety issues. Therefore, the attached emergency bids have been drafted and are being submitted to the council for review and emergency adoption. Taft Modified Community Correctional Facility has received bids from Adrenal Roof Incorporated for a single-ply Duralast 50 mil PVC roof system in the amount of $239,631 with a 15-year warranty. Midstate Sheet Metal has a 3-ply build-up roof type 4 hot asphalt in the amount of $246,150 with a 20-year warranty. Single-ply roof system will not work with a constant foot traffic and equipment service attract traffic, which we have on the administrative and medical roof, mainly due to servicing all the AC units.
Right. All right. Thank you very much. Councilman Hall. Councilman Cryer, you asked that this be removed from the
I
agenda.
just had a couple of questions. Is this coming out of our general fund, or is this coming out of another fund?
Well, the CCF has established a reserve fund of its own to take care of things like this because we knew that there was going to be future maintenance issues with the building. So theoretically, it's coming out of the MCCF reserve fund.
So we have the funding there already to do the project then. And how many square feet is that approximately?
Oh, right offhand, I don't know if it's in the report or not. There's different areas here. I don't know if it says on here or not. Pretty large area. I don't have it. I'll have it.
That's fine. I was just asking about where the fund's coming.
And we're trying to hurry up. We're in a hurry to get it done, but we did get about 15 phone numbers for commercial roofing companies, and it appears they're all working because these are the only two people that would take the time to come over and measure the roof out and give us a price.
Well, everybody wants it done before the wet weather gets here, huh?
They're busy, so.
Are they good company?
Yeah, I checked them out from some of the contractors, some of the prime contractors they use them for roofing. So,
thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
No additional questions, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to accept the bid from Mid-State Sheet Metal in the amount of $246,150 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. No additional discussion.
I'm sorry, I missed that motion.
I made the motion, and those two, they can split the second.
All right. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
Mayor Noor.
Yes, that passed on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. Is it really necessary that Councilman Miller leave the room if he doesn't get involved in the discussion?
Unfortunately, Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
yes.
Well, I'm sorry, Councilman Miller.
Blew me right off the ties. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
I hate to see him leave, but by the same token, I believe we need to discuss this further.
I didn't even know cookies in there.
You turn left.
Don't forget, we got to sign some checks.
Yes, you have.
He's going on.
I need signatures.
You needn't go. You needn't go home, Councilman.
We kick you out.
All right. Yes, there is.
In my office.
Help yourself. Okay. Item number 14 and 15, if we may. Item 14, consideration of request from Old Dorado Inc. to name the new event center the Old Dorado Room. City Manager Jones.
I think the heading speaks for itself, and the next one is accept donation of 48-inch backlit exterior clock from Old Dorado Inc.
All right, very good. I ask that these two items be removed from the consent calendar, mostly to express our very deep thanks and gratitude to the Old Dorado Committee. Our community center is just about finished, and it's rather ironic that two of the men that are involved in this donation have also been heavily involved in the construction of that, and one of them was heavily involved in the concept. So you talk about your cradle to grave. So I am going to ask that they please step forward, if you would please. Mr. Black and Mr. Linder, please come forward.
Oh, Mr. Eubanks.
I'm sorry?
And Mr.
And Mr. Eubanks, that's right. Follow me, please. Right up here.
Is this the test?
You needn't study for this one.
All right.
All right, for the masses out there, Mr. Linder, former mayor, former city councilman, current Taft High board member. The reason I wanted Paul up here, Paul was here and he was a part of things when this concept began. From the very beginning, when we as a council started considering this, we talked about the concept of it, we talked about the architecture, we talked about the colors, we talked about so many things. And as it were, Councilman Linder then left the city council and he went to work for Blackhall Construction, Mr. Glenn Black. and he ended up being the superintendent over this project. And so he had a very keen interest in the quality of the end product. Not to say that they don't always deliver quality end product, because they do. However, he really took a very personal interest in what they are delivering to the people of the city of Taft. And I've been involved, and I think I bothered Paul all but 2 days during the entire construction period, because I went by every single day. And it's just been an amazing journey to see that come to fruition. And I wanted to bring those things up. Thank you personally for how hard you have worked to deliver an amazing product to the people of the city of Taft that they'll take great pride in. And I know that you felt that pride during the course of the construction.
Absolutely, yes. You're quite welcome.
Beyond that, the Oil Dorado room is beautiful, and look forward to seeing many events in that. And then finally, the clock, which is a very critical part of what we're doing there, which is going to be placed on the clock tower. That donation is way above and beyond. So I would ask you, please, if you would just describe it in a little bit more detail so that the people of the city of Taft know just exactly how far you've gone to make that happen for them.
Well, it was a joint effort by the board. We saw an opportunity there because the city did have limited funds for the building, and obviously, the clock was struck from the project for maybe a later date. When I'd heard that, then I approached the board and talked to them about it, and thought it was a great idea. And that's when we also developed the idea of a home for Oil Dorado through the off years. And when I say home, I just mean a namesake. We're not going to set up an office in there, so you don't have to worry about that. But so the clock is 48 inches in diameter, as you said. It's backlit, so it'll be on all night. It's LED, so it doesn't cost you much to operate. We designed it with a vintage look because it fit the building, the architecture of the building. And the board itself were just excited about being able to do this, because the money that's raised through Oil Dorado puts on the event. It gives us seed money for the next Oil Dorado, and it allows us to do our scholarships for students every year that we do at the high school. As you're aware, we placed or provided 10 very nice benches that are placed throughout Rails to Trails and downtown. All of those are designed to keep Oil Dorado in the kind of the back of people's minds, so that it doesn't lull too much during the off season, and then we can ramp right back up. But that's what we do. We want to give back to the community, because the community is what provides Oil Dorado with the funds that we have. So we're excited about it.
Well, that's very generous of the Oil Dorado committee. And just so everybody out there knows, Paul mentioned the off season for Oil Dorado. The day they empty out the Oil Dorado store and they close it down and they box up what's left and they all take a deep breath, the following day the planning begins for the next Oil Dorado. So I don't know what off-season Paul is talking about, because anybody involved in that, anybody who volunteers for that, has made an incredible commitment to the community. So thank you again for this. Thank you for the clock, and thank you for your commitment to the community.
Thank you. The one thing I might add is that we will be producing, if on your approval, and because Mr. Miller won't vote for it, but on your approval, we'll be producing some art that we would like to place on probably the glass doors of the event center. We're not interested in making this thing, Oil Dorado every turn, but we're going to create some art that you guys can look at and approve before it's placed on the building. And we're going to be discreet, professional, and I think it'll just enhance the building. So,
all right, very good. We look forward to seeing that, and thank you again, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I'm going to have to delay the vote on that momentarily while Councilman Cryer. He'll be back in a second.
Still have a majority.
I still have a majority.
Still have 3.
Yeah, but then he doesn't have the opportunity to vote on it.
He
So
would probably want to vote for this.
I don't want to shortchange him on that opportunity.
Should we knock on the door and ask for his proxy?
But I tell you what I will do. At this time, and the motions are gonna be connected, so there'll be a single vote for both motions. Is that appropriate? Is that legal? Perfectly fine. Thank you very much. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft naming the new event center located at the City of Taft Transit Building, 550 Supply Road, Taft, California, the Oil Dorado Room. And as a part of the same motion, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft accepting a donation of a 48-inch backlit exterior clock from the Executive Board of Old Dorado, Inc., value $5,465, to be placed on the clock tower of the new City Transit Center.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
Mayor Noor.
Yes, that passes on a 4-0. If Randy was here, it would be a 5-0 vote, but it's a 4-0 vote. Thank you very much.
Your Thanksgiving gift is no closed session.
Okay, do we need to get Councilman Miller back in here for the adjournment, or can he continue to enjoy his cookies?
He can continue to enjoy his cookies.
Okay, all right. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
This city council meeting is adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.